I have the controller set down because I'm on the phone.
Hi. Are we live?
Hello.
Yes, it's on it's on your account.
Yay. All right,
Nice.
Christian, we're live,
Great.
so let's get into it. No more shop talk.
Sounds good.
Welcome,
Hello.
everyone.
Hello.
Hi. So I guess this is it. We're live streaming out of the metaverse from the meeting place. This is kind of insane, and I feel like I've been kind of posting a lot and kind of trying to tell people what this is, but I think this is probably the best way to showcase exactly what Cyril and I have created in the metaverse.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
um,
The best
and
way
we have
to
Jake,
show it is to show it, right? To be in it.
right? So I can like wave, like actually Jake and I are all both kind of set up in our Oculus headsets. This is a
We can
live
high five.
environment. High five.
You
Pat
know.
pat a cake. Um, and this is a live environment, right? So anyone actually could jump in and crash our interview right now. I mean, last night we had something similar happen where we were live streaming out of the meeting place, and then people just started showing up, and we literally had these like organic conversations with people
You got Felipe
happening. And
right below you there. So,
oh, hi, Felipe.
guys, how's it going
Hey.
on?
And then we have Christian, who's the executive producer on the meeting place as well, here with us, and he's going to be able to
What's up,
help us
everyone?
answer some questions and have some conversations. Yeah, so behind me we have a manifesto that Cyril and I put together. And it's also available on the website, themeetingplace.io. And oh, Christian, actually, I think our food delivery is here. If we can go take care of that.
I'll grab it. Yeah.
Um, and
Hunger never
but
stops, even when you're in the
oh,
metaverse. So
I know. If only we can eat in the metaverse, but someday maybe. Yeah, in the manifesto, we kind of talk about why we created this space, and a lot of it is about finding a social solution for humanity, right? Like it talks about how we were kind of inspired by the fact, by the challenges that we face through kind of working from home and having these productivity tools like, Zoom calls and all these different things, but at the same time, what we lacked. Oh, hey, Pascal. Good to see
hey, how
you.
are
We're in the
you?
middle of a
Hi,
live
how's it
stream. What's
going?
up? We're literally in a
How's
live
it?
stream, and welcome. But
Hey.
yeah, in the manifesto, I talk about how we figured out how to work together, but we haven't really quite figured out how to socialize in the metaverse or with technology. And so together, Cyril and I, what we really wanted to create was a space in which people could begin. I love it. Everyone's here. Yay. Hi, Cal. Um, how we could create a space that was actually inviting, that people would actually want to go to, right? The fact that these people are showing up right now is like incredible and completely unplanned, and so, what Cyril and I set out to create was a space in the metaverse that was truly inviting. And I think the way that we did that was to kind of really think about it from an artistic perspective, right? We both came from architecture, but we're both artists, and we wanted to really challenge ourselves to really think critically about what does it mean to build a virtual reality experience. What does it mean to create a space that is beautiful, right? How can we begin to find a language that's specific to the technology, that really brings architecture to life in a way that is specific, again, once again, specific to the metaverse, to virtual reality, right? And so, without further ado, let's go turn around, I guess,
Yeah,
and check out the meeting place from the outside.
there we go. There it
Here
is.
we go.
Cloud City in the
Yay!
metaverse. I love it. Woo! It's gorgeous.
Yeah. And so the way that we designed it, we wanted to have two experiences. We wanted people to come in and land here and kind of get their bearings, figure out how to move around, but we also wanted people to see the meeting place from the outside. So you can kind of get an idea of exactly what it is as a structure, the context of us floating in what seems like an infinite sky. I think that was very important for us too. We wanted the meeting place to be grounded in nowhere, right? The meeting place could be floating over the ocean. It could be floating, above a city so far up we couldn't see. Um, but the idea was to create a space that was for everyone and contextless, but yet beautiful, calming. Um, and so this this structure is the meeting place. And if we want to go in there, shall we go in there right now? Yeah,
Yeah, and
let's
what I
do
love
it.
just while we have like this outside perspective too, is the fact that you really you talked about this. We've our friend Krista Kim has talked about this too. Like being what's really unique is that you're really taking advantage. From an architecture perspective, you're taking advantage of the fact that you're not limited by the physics of reality. Like, what does architecture look like? What could it look like if we're
Exactly.
meeting and living in a virtual environment in the virtual space, and having a floating space like this, and we'll all see it when we're inside, what it's like to have these spaces inside, what it's like when you're living and working in a metaverse. So having someone who will be controlling the space, be the owner of the space and determining what types of events there are in there, I think is going to be really unique, and how we'll be able to have different types of events because of this medium that allows us to have those different styles of events. So it's really cool just to see the outside perspective. Like, you would never, obviously Cyril, who's world-renowned artist, has created a lot of all his pieces kind of mirror this style, but they're of course all grounded in reality, right? They're all on the ground, and they're more traditional pyramids or other types of general shapes. Obviously, he's very non-traditional, but they have to be on the ground in some way.
Exactly.
Here, he can have his work, have the work that you guys have collaborated on, floating above the ocean, almost like something out of a Marvel film, or
Exactly.
Star
And
Wars or something like that.
and Cyril's work actually goes way back, and he's been kind of making these renderings that were like unbuilt, right? He was like, people would call me like, oh, can we like shoot a video at this place? And he's like, well, it doesn't exist. And so he has been in some ways thinking about metaverse architecture for a while, and so that's why when I connected with Spatial through Jake, I immediately thought about working with Cyril, because here we have this artist, architect that's already been dealing and thinking about the space, but through the technology, through the advancements of where we are today with VR and our headsets and our rendering capabilities, we can bring Cyril's ideas to life for the first time in this very immersive and very real social way. And again, and that's exactly what Jake said, right? Like the fact that it doesn't that it's defying gravity is another very, in some ways, obvious statement that we're making with the meeting place, right? Like we're kind of being honest about it and being like, look, you don't no longer have to follow the rules of reality in the metaverse. So let's begin to create things that defy our expectations, right? Like a lot of VR spaces still right now coming out are replications of the real world, right? So for us, Cyril and I were like, why are we building more of the same stuff? Like if we wanted to go to a bar, we can go to a bar in the real world, right? But so what can we bring to the metaverse that is also exciting and new, that will actually get people to come aboard and meet us on the other side?
Exactly. So what's great is, we're looking at it here, but we can actually go inside, and I think some people are thinking, how do you guys get all the way over there? And we don't have flying yet in Spatial. We'll add that soon, hopefully.
Somebody
The
asked us
jetpack
actually.
mode. Yeah.
I was literally on a Twitter space conversation earlier, and someone was like, I love the meeting place, and I like it's amazing, but I want to fly in there. And I was like, oh my god, girl. I was like, me too. But the tech is coming. It's growing really fast, and it will be possible one day where I can like fly in. And then like be like, come
Hmm.
on, let's go, and like just go straight in there. Like the
Yeah.
dream is real, and I think it's just a matter of like waiting for technology to catch up, and it's moving so quickly. I can't wait for, what
Yeah,
spatial, for
flying
instance,
is
will be like.
flying's on the roadmap for sure, especially as we
Ooh,
get more and more.
Yes.
This is
that's
this
awesome.
is this is one of the first environments like this in spatial that we are having like floating like this. So I imagine we'll see more of these from you, from Cyril, from other artists, incredible artists around the world, and obviously flying jetpack mode could definitely
Amazing.
add a bit to it. But we can still get up there. We have another sci-fi method for getting up there, and that's like a Star Trek style portal, which we got over here. So we're gonna pop in through that guy, and then we'll pop out inside the middle of the meeting place out there. So let's go.
Yeah, let's go in here.
Let's do
So
it.
we will. Where is she? So I'll go first, but I'll see you inside. Come on.
Let's go. Come along.
Awesome. Hi, Steph. Okay. Hey guys,
We're here.
we're here.
I
Welcome
love
to the
this
meeting
moment when you
place.
first get this
So
grand
now
opening.
we are actually in the structure itself, right? And we're greeted by this sort of intro. But if we kind of just walk through it, you'll see the fullness of the entire structure. Yeah, let's go
Yes,
deeper.
Jake.
I just love just exploring. It's like a jungle. I feel like a kid in a jungle gym. Just like I want to just go and explore and jump around.
Right? I think I called it like a Chuck E. Cheese experience.
That
There,
crossed my mind. I didn't want to necessarily compare this beautiful work of art to a Chuck E. Cheese, but I see your point.
No, but I feel like that's one of the magical things about building in the metaverse. Or like when I took my parents here in full VR, there was a moment where I could see my parents like playing, and it was something. It was a honest moment that I had never seen in my parents go through. I felt like I saw the children in my parents again, and I think that's a big part of the thought process when we were kind of designing the meeting place, was like, how can we create a space that is joyful? How can we
Mm-hmm.
get people to come in here and feel joyous, right? Like, I think that if we can create spaces of happiness. Whoa, Christian, you have no head.
I,
What?
I see
Maybe,
what you said.
maybe rejoin. Maybe leave and come back.
Okay, I'll come back. That's so weird.
I see his head. I see your head.
You see
Yo,
his head? Oh,
he
I don't
sees
see his
it.
head. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I
Okay.
can see
Well,
a
he's
head.
handsome, isn't he? Even in
Do I
the
have a head?
Anyway.
Yeah, you got ahead.
Okay,
Okay,
great.
good.
Oh, weird. Okay.
Yeah.
Just Benny doesn't think I
Um,
have a head.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I mean, thank you for joining, Luke. Hi, welcome. Um, and so a big part of designing this space was about visual comfort, right? I met another person in here. I spent a good chunk of time, and I met a person in here, and we had a conversation, and I think that is in some ways a really nice compliment, in the sense that there's a lot of spaces out there that you just don't want to stay inside of for very long. You get nauseous, or it doesn't excite you, and in some ways, like, I've meditated in here. I've had like nights where I'm like freaking out about this project, and I come in here and I have my headset on. It sounds like crazy, but like I sit here and I can be here. And I think that is a testament to the talent of Cyril as well, his ability to really be sensitive to scale and thinking about architecture. Um, and I can kind of walk you through it a little bit more if we bring the camera over a little bit further. We can kind of look down here, and you can see that the architecture of the space is designed to kind of host a variety of scales. I can jump down here and I can kind of wave and say hi, and you can imagine that we can have a kind of keynote conversation in here, right? Because of screen sharing capabilities from Spatial, we can throw in a PDF and have up to 32 people in this space, and I can present to you my newest project in this kind of amphitheater like space. right? And this is really kind of um, in some ways inherently designed for people to meet, right? I think that we really came to love the name The Meeting Place because somewhere along the project we realized that fundamentally it doesn't even matter what the space is. The most important part is actually who you're meeting on the other side. The only way that we can really begin to get people to enroll into the metaverse is by bringing experiences to people that will inspire them enough to want to invite others, right? How did you get onto Facebook? Somebody told you that you need to get onto this network. You need to make an account now, because everybody's on there, and there's all these things that you can do there, and you need to be part of it. And I think the metaverse is very similar in that sense, right? The internet is here, this opportunity is here, but we just need to find ways to bring people on board. And the meeting place is an example of how we can use art and architecture and technology to really begin to recruit a whole new group of people to participate in what is, pretty much at this point, a fact, the future of the internet.
So
Definitely, and
Jake,
I love that
you
point you made too, because this is I've really felt that this is kind of the coming together of art and technology, like kind of like the almost like a culmination of this too, right? Like when was the last time you were able to really kind of use technology to step into a piece of art? Because this really and combine that with architecture as well. I mean, it's such a unique combination of things, and the fact that we have this space will be a one of one NFT as well, right? So it's not just a beautiful space you can step into, but there's really only going to be like one place or a certain set of number of places, right, that you'll be able to come into and experience it. It'll be a unique. It really makes it more of a destination
Exactly.
than beyond an experience, but a destination as well, which is really exciting. And I've
absolutely.
also just been
And
looking up. I actually didn't even notice this until now. The little
Really?
hints of
It's the best
motion.
view.
I know.
Yeah,
I never know. You have the motion, like some of the parts of the structure here that are spinning
exactly.
slowly, which is really. I've been in here so many times, and I still, for some reason, never noticed that like little subtle design aspect there, which is really awesome. I love that.
I mean, there's there was a lot of thought processes, right? When we started thinking about this, it was like, okay, like how can we, like in my dream, I was like, oh my God, we could like have a meeting in here, we can hang out, and then over time, the shadows would move, and you get this sense of atmosphere and time. Maybe a bird flies through, and the clouds are coming through. There's a million ideas of how we can make this feel closer and closer to reality. But a big learning lesson that we had as we were like developing this space is we also have to recognize where technology is at this current moment in time, right? Like we can't render the shadows to move even though we wanted to, and the dream is there, but we will get there, right? So we have to find different ways to create a sensation of time in the metaverse. And one of the tricks that we found was by including these sort of subtle animations, right? Suddenly it feels like there is time happening. I think of the sort of rotating elements, kind of almost like the second hands of a clock, right? It's almost as if it gives you a reference point in which then time exists. Um, and so that's definitely something that we're thinking about, and as technology evolves, and I think this is really key as well, right? Like you're buying this NFT, this environment, this one-of-a-kind building, but as spatial technology evolves, like currently you have 32 people, but they're working on expanding that, right? As the technology becomes better and better and better, your experience of the meeting place also gets better and better and better. And I think it's a telltale sign of whether you have a good digital space or a digital work of art when you think about it from that perspective, right? For me, I think the meeting place is going to get better because the textures, the Michael Potts from M2 Studio has done an incredible job making it look as beautiful as it is here. But as our processing power gets better, like we're gonna be able to see like the details of the concrete, right? You know, like the rendering capabilities are going to get better and better and richer, right? Like imagine a world where you can feel the warmth of the concrete at the meeting place somehow through haptic gloves or whatever it is. You know, like imagine the fullest potential of what the meeting place can offer. And so in some ways, you know, we're selling this as a one of one in this, but it will evolve with technology, right? It does get better, and that's what is really exciting, and yeah,
And I,
it has the promise.
and actually, yes, Jake, could you share a little bit more about like what new features or things spatial, like besides flying, which is super exciting, like what's kind of on the roadmap? Like what are you guys working on?
Yeah, so I mean, just for like a little history on the platform. So for those who don't know, I know we've a lot of the NFT world is starting to become familiar with us. We're actually adding a lot more features focused on creators and artists and things like that too. And we come from a history. Spatial is really built as a platform for to allow people to work together and collaborate. You know, bring in 3D models, images, videos, things like that, and feel like really have a sense of presence that you're in a room with other people, and I can hand you, you know, an object or an image or something for us to look at. We can stand next to each other. Exactly. Here we go. Um, Perfect. So you're in Benny and Kristen. You're both here in New York. I'm in New Jersey. I'm like 100 miles away, something like that. And you can just come over to me and hand me this model, like we're standing next to each other, and I can just grab it and look at it. And I really feel like, especially with the spatial audio, the fact that like you sound like you're further away from me when you are further away from me, and sound closer to me when you are closer to me, really gives that sense of presence.
And
So
like
we're going to be,
this is,
yeah, go
sorry, no, go for it. I'm just drawing on this model now. I'm gonna go for it.
ahead.
Continue.
Yeah, so I mean, we're going to be, adding features to kind of enhance that sense of presence, really supercharging performance, so the audio is crystal clear, even better than it already is. But also adding features like a public park. So right now, when you come into Spatial, you have your list of rooms with the Explore tab, um, and you can see when other people in those rooms. But what if we gave you basically a um, a metaverse space to do that, to bump into people when you're going, discovering new spaces, discovering other portals, having your own private space as well that you can come into your own private home. That's actually set right next to a waterfall, gorgeous view that you'll be able to bring in your NFTs, your art, anything you like, and design and lay out that space. And deeper integration with the blockchain, having MetaMask login as well, in addition to all the other forms of authentication that we have on the platform. So really kind of bringing Spatial to that next level and making it much easier for artists to use, create galleries. The other big thing, actually, that should have been the first thing I mentioned, is one-click galleries. So now when you bring art into Spatial, you'll be able to, just with one click, have auto layout of your gallery space. Whether it's in a space, like this, like the meeting place, or if you're using a more traditional gallery environment, being able to lay that out and then quickly share that with friends, collectors, fans of yours, and then
Oh
you can
wow.
meet with them in the space. Yeah.
So it like it if you kind of like input your assets and then you go figure out how to put it on the walls based on surfaces. Is that how that works?
Yeah, so you'll just select from you'll have your NFT wallets or just, other 2D, 3D content in your spatial collection that's part of your account. You select which ones you want to lay out in the space and just click lay out my content, and it will automatically lay it out in the space for you. So you don't have to go through
Whoa.
the
Very
time of,
cool.
I mean, you can of course go manually lay it out, but that can take some time. And we want to have people in your space really, really quickly, and want to take the pain out of laying out the content in that space. So that'll be a big feature that's coming.
That's
Very
awesome.
cool.
Yeah, yeah, really exciting stuff. So
Anytime.
we're a couple of weeks away, from that. So more on that probably early next month. On what's coming.
Awesome.
Super,
And
Oh.
I
super, super
really feel
exciting.
like, we're like starting a whole creators community, right? Like our creators economy, actually, the better word is, right? Because like a big part of this was also like, Cyril and I wanted to show the world that if you're an artist out there and you're interested in building 3D spaces, and you understand how to use the software, and you want to explore this world, you have the ability to do that, right? You can build a space, import into Spatial, bring people on there. You can sell it as an NFT, as a piece of real estate. You could literally build your own home by yourself in your living room, right? And so that's kind of like the big picture that we're really beginning to think about, right? The meeting place is the beginning. It is a proof of concept that people care about well-designed spaces, that well-designed spaces have the potential to make you feel something, to make you feel happier, right? The well-designed spaces, just like our physical homes, have a personal reflection or personal reflections of who we are. And so if that is the case, then there's a whole unbuilt reality out there. And
Exactly.
that's what excites me, right? Like, is that we don't need to be under some sort of big tech version of the metaverse. We can, in fact, create our own little ecosystem, these private parts of the metaverse where we can utilize the technology without having to think about all these other things like the larger context of being part of any specific tech platform.
Exactly, and
Totally.
what
I
excites me most about this stuff as well is the fact that our focus as a platform is to make spatial and really the metaverse as accessible and easy to use and get into as possible, right? Like you don't have to be a developer, a coder, a technical person to create a space like this or
That's
lots of
amazing.
the other spaces that we have as well. I mean, our team comes from we have a big part of our team are designers, come from, building user interfaces for like Samsung TVs and things like that, things that are, easy to use. They have a really good design sense of how to make things accessible to, quote unquote, like normal people. And by that I mean non-tech people, basically, right? Artists and creators. Like we want the community to be able to focus on creating their art and without having to really think, share that with the world and have a social experience around that. Like we have a bunch of people in here now with us in the space. We have, of course, people watching on the live stream. But how do we create a social experience within the art as well? Because art is great, but it's made even better when you're sharing it and experiencing it with other
I
people.
love that. That's so true. And we have our friend Gia here who's been so supportive to us. I'd love to hear what you think is most exciting about this project and how you've seen it evolve as someone who's been helping us very much involved with the rollout.
Yeah, thanks, Christian. I every time I'm in this space, I always think the same thing. To me, it is what I believe the metaverse promises us, right? But then I'm here and it's already here. I think when we think about the metaverse, there's so much magic that can happen, and it's really amazing that it's ready to use right now. I'm so inspired by Spatial and how everyone has accessibility to the metaverse. I get excited that people can be in this space and really be inspired. What's most exciting to me is that Cyril and Benny have come together and created this space, using Spatial's technology to host it. Um, but, just even entering the metaverse space, we can see how creative people can be, when artists are given the right tools and they're able to create freely, then we can see this sort of manifestation like the meeting place, and then we can engage with it as humans so easily. So I really get excited for where, what we can do with these spaces and how we can start to interact. I'm asking you guys, like, when is the first concert here? Like, when are we going to
Ha,
see
right?
digital
Right.
experiential, right?
I know, exactly. Jake, how's your singing voice?
Oh,
Yeah.
you do not want to hear my singing voice.
That's funny. I was
I
actually,
start to think of
Yeah, I clap.
Oh,
yeah,
I
there was a
like the use
karaoke the
cases
other
of
night I
this.
attended.
Yeah, Taryn,
When
you
we
did that. You attended a karaoke event you were saying the other day in Spain.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
it was a
happening.
group, and yeah, there was like a 12-year-old girl accompanied by a piano playing while she was in a headset. I mean, it was awesome.
Whoa.
The audio was really nice. She had a great voice, but everyone was doing karaoke, and we're just watching it, standing there. It was really neat.
We had a Clubhouse
Wow.
participant. Do you guys remember that opera singer who asked us, You know, she's like, can I
Yeah.
perform in these spaces? And we see other
Yeah.
artists become more inspired by being able to see spaces like this, and we start to see different use cases arise, you know. I think we
Yeah,
could
we're
do a
actually
full
meeting
concert
her.
here.
Absolutely, we're meeting her here on Monday, I think, right? Like we're
Friday.
taking her through, and we're on Friday. We're like, come on over, and so you know, what I mean, like it's really, um, the possibilities are endless, and so you know, like we come, you know, G and I, we come from entertainment, and my background for you know anyone that's tuning in is actually in creative direction and design for live entertainment. So I used to design. And still do, you know, concert tours, stages, performances, and so even the fact that this is an amphitheater, I think, is not by accident. You know, I think, you know, in a lot of ways that the ideas of storytelling, about performances, about entertainment, all of these things are kind of like in my head, and that's why the meeting place, you know, like Cyril actually calls it like you know also like a performance hall, right? Like you can imagine that this is like the orchestra seating, and then you have upstairs, and you have you know the balconies, and you can go and have a private conversation out there, but you can still hear the noise and the sound and the music, and um, I really think that this is you know the future has arrived.
Yeah, definitely. I can see it would be incredible once we, can fill these seats here with people. Even having people kind of, up top looking down and having a performance here in the middle, like a 360, immersive
Uh,
experience would be
I
totally,
gotta
totally
say,
wild.
Jake, it's awesome. I'm on Twitter and I'm looking at the feed while I'm actually in here, and it's really interesting because, like, as the public sees this, you're talking and doing things. I didn't turn it on because I didn't want to double the audio, but it's pretty amazing. Like anyone could
Nice.
just view what's going on right now, and it's real time. That's so cool.
Exactly, and people are welcome to come in also. We're here, this
Right.
is a live space. People, if you go to app.spatial.io and go into the Explore tab, you'll see the meeting place. You'll actually end up in the landing area, but then there's a portal you can come through, so you'll see the meeting place structure at a distance, and there'll be a portal there if you weren't with us at the beginning. There's a portal you can jump into and then come join us here in the space. So feel free. The
Yeah,
place
come
is
find
open
us.
to explore.
Yeah,
Should
Yeah,
we
come
get
say
more
hi.
people to
crash
retweet this on
our
Twitter?
live stream.
Like, is there anybody else that can retweet this Twitter post from Spatial?
Anyone
Some
can.
invites.
I've got my headset on, so I can't retweet from
Yep, I
within.
retweeted it.
Thank you.
There we
Actually,
go.
Jake, I
Soon
have a
enough, we'll be
question.
able to retweet from inside.
Are legs
Right.
coming soon? Are we gonna get
That
legs?
that is a very
I got that
very much
question from someone.
yeah, that is definitely. If there's a list of questions that like the hottest topics, like the spiciest questions, like having legs is definitely at the top of that list. We're looking into ways to adding that. Right, these are the avatars that we've had in the platform for a long time. It's more of a technical question, I think. How do we give your avatars legs effectively so it doesn't pull you out of that experience? The reason why we haven't, the big question is why we haven't. Some other platforms do have legs, like totally recognize that there isn't a good way, especially when you're in headset, to track your legs and look like you're walking as you actually walk around a space. It kind of takes you out of that a little bit, but we're working on ways. Our engineers are working on ways to add legs so you can effectively kind of look like you're walking around a space and stuff like that as well. Have pants, have maybe put on some cool Nike shoes and customize your avatar
Wow.
and things like that. So those are things that we're definitely
Love
exploring and will be a key part. Like identity and how you look and stuff like that is really important to us. We focused on a realistic aspect of that. You can upload a
Yeah.
Which I
photo
really
and
appreciate.
Yeah, we
yeah,
love that
and
about
we
Spatial.
recognize people want to have a certain sense of anonymity, or maybe they want to look like they're PFPs or something like that. So we're working on ways to integrate those as well in Spatial
Very
too. So
cool.
you can have you can look that's another benefit of the metaverse, right? You can be whoever you want to be, look like whatever you want to look like, and that's totally cool. So we want to respect people that want to look like themselves, but also people who don't, and want to
That's
look like something greater than they could be, potentially in reality. Having, I could look like a Martian or whatever it is,
Oh
and
yeah,
being
I'm
able
totally
to
gonna be a
support all those,
Martian.
yeah, being able to support all those, that entire community is what we want to do.
should we go take a walk around, like check out some of the other
Yeah.
sort of spaces? Let's go
Yeah,
upstairs
let's
a
get a
little
different
bit.
person.
So
Yeah.
let's go up this way. Let's see.
Benny, maybe you can tell us about some of the questions you've gotten. I feel like somebody asked us about a music video the other day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the moment people like see this, they quickly recognize the potential, right? Like earlier in the Twitter space, we had a fashion designer who was like, "Can you imagine having a fashion show in here, right?" Like, or another person on a different clubhouse the other day was asking us, can we shoot, movies in here, right? And imagine, I mean, you're watching us, so technically, like we have our friend Stephanie who's driving your camera more or less, right? Like we're seeing, what you're seeing is, actually, watch this. Let's have a
bring up
little
the selfie
moment
stick?
here. I'm gonna bring up the selfie stick so I can show you exactly what we're looking at. So here, so you're actually looking at Stephanie's camera angle, and by doing this, you see
Oh,
that? Christian, you
weird.
got no
Where is my
head,
head?
right?
No, I think
Okay.
I see it. That's weird.
That's
That is
so weird.
right?
Okay, well,
But
we'll
but that's
document this.
we can take a selfie later. But that's kind of like exciting, right? Like suddenly you have like virtual camera people, right? If you had multiple version of people kind of like logged in and were recording their screens, then you can get into like start to craft stories. I believe Spatial also has a tool that they have in the back end that allows you to set cameras and move it around, like pretty much like it's like a drone. I mean, if you're familiar with sort of putting in cameras in 3D software, it usually is just an object, and you animate the object to move around. So I guess it's
Yeah,
very
there's
much like a drone.
Yeah, I mean, the sky's the limit with these spaces, right? We're seeing people bring in all kinds of environments. That's what's great. What's been great is the creative freedom people have to have all kinds of environments, whether that's movie sets, whether that is, a 3D scan of your house, and you want to have people step into your actual house or relive memories. With the ability with like modern phones, it doesn't have to take super advanced cameras. You can do really good 3D scans of environments and things like that and bring those into Spatial. And one of the things I'm trying to work on as well is I 3D scanned a lot of things from my wedding from a month ago, and can I bring those into a spatial environment and basically relive the memories from that day, bring in videos, bring in 3D scans. I 3D scanned the space where it was on this nice little island. Can I bring those in, and then in the future basically relive it like I'm there and invite other people to kind of relive it with me? So that really, there's so much you can do.
We literally, Christian and I talked about that last night. We're like, when our apartment is like finally set up. Oh, Christian's back with a face for me. Thank you. You're very
Yay!
handsome,
Sorry.
darling. And we literally talked about it last night. We're like, once the house is set up, like we rent. We're like, but before we move out, let's like try and capture the space, so that like in 40 years we can come back and be like, oh yeah, let's go back to our first apartment where we got married, and relive these experiences. And I'm really excited about that too, because I think memories our memories are stored in different places, right? There's like stories about a man who forgets everything, but then when you play his favorite songs, he comes back alive, right? I'm curious about how much of our memories are stored in these experiences of space, of environment, right? If we can transplant ourselves back into time, into these spaces that are familiar, what memories can we bring back to life? Or you talked about destinations, right? Like, could someone come here and be like, wow, this is amazing, and then forget about it? But then suddenly, 10 years later, they're invited to an open house event back at the meeting place, and they go, whoa, I've been here before. This was my first metaverse experience, and I recall it, and it's familiar. It has a place in my heart, right? I think attaching these almost romantic ideas to the metaverse allows our experience of this, very digital world to feel much more personal. And I think that's when it becomes a part of our everyday lives, when it becomes personal.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a really interesting to think about, right? When you go, you're in real life, right? When you go back and visit like your old, school, or maybe, a restaurant you used to go to, as a kid, or a park or something like that, and it sparks those memories. We're going to be having similar types of reactions to visiting, virtual places. You still like that's what's really interesting
Agreed.
about, virtual reality and the metaverse and stuff like that is, we're all in headsets here, and there's actually been a lot of studies that have been shown that you build real memories when you're in like a headset, the same as you do when you're having real life experiences. Like we're gonna remember this because I'm looking at you, I'm looking Christian, Freddie, I'm looking at both of you in the eye. I feel like I'm standing next to you in this space, like next week or next year, and something. There we go. Yeah, hugging. We're gonna have hug sesh. There we go.
Virtual hug. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
Virtual hug. All right.
Get in there.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh wow. Getting very close.
So like,
Yeah.
yeah.
No
but
COVID.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No mask required or anything like that. But like in like a year from now, 10 years from now, like I'm gonna have like the memory of this as if it actually happened, and
Right.
it kind of
Well, it is
blurs the line of
actually
like
happening,
what's
right?
it is that
Yeah.
of
That
course it's actually
actually
happening,
has
but like
happened.
it kind of you recall it in a similar way versus like if I was playing a video game or something like that on my TV, I'm gonna recall that memory maybe a little bit differently than I were
Yeah.
since I'm
Yeah, but I
completely
remember
immersed
the
in this
opening.
experience.
Like my gallery opening. I remember it like when we had it and everyone was there. I don't think of it as I remember putting the headset on and doing this. I actually just remember what I was seeing in the headset. You know what I mean? Like being in the space with everyone. It doesn't fuzz out with the avatars. Because of the faces being recognizable like that, you actually then have clear memories of people. And it's
Wow.
interesting because that did happen to me, and it does right now. If somebody said to me, "Hey, remember when you had your opening?" I'm not thinking of that day what I was doing. I'm actually thinking of what it was like standing in my gallery.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And actually, Benny's
Wow.
mom had like a similar experience when we put her in the headset. Like a few hours later, she's like, I can't stop thinking about it. Like it's
No, it
burned
was
in
the
my
next
mind.
day on the way to the airport in the car, and she's like,
Yeah.
I keep thinking about it. I was like, thank you, mom. Like, but that's the whole thing, right? Like, can we like make spaces in the metaverse that like haunt us, that
Oh
that
yeah.
we miss, that we love, like that we can call a home, and that's the challenge, right? I think for all the creators coming into this world, it's like be really critical, right? It's not enough for it to be like cool and flashy with animations, and there's a lot of that, right? It's like
Yeah.
it's like a it's like the world is like Cirque du Soleil out there. Like everything is like maximalism, and that's fine. That's an aesthetic, but we also have to be very, very careful not to forget that like great work comes from being extremely honest and extremely critical about exactly how we are communicating. And I think because the meeting place is so minimal in some ways, we don't have a lot of textures. It's really distilled down to just the forms. It has the ability to communicate that simple poetic of space, right? And as it gets more and more complicated, and we can add more and more things, it's gonna be harder, frankly, in a lot of ways, because there's gonna be a lot of distractions of the possibilities. And so, in some ways, for me, the meeting place, yes, it opens the gates for everyone, but I keep hearkening back to this statement, which is, I think, that beyond just the fact that everything's available and the possibilities are endless, we also have to double down on our criticism, on our, again, honesty with ourselves, with the technology, and with the communications that we're giving and the spaces that we're creating. Because, like, it's the spaces that we build in the metaverse will have real world effects on our psychology, on our well-being, right? Like Krista Kim's endeavor with techism is about how can we use technology to heal ourselves, to make ourselves better and great human beings, right? Healthier and happier. And I think, and that's why Mars House makes an incredible amount of sense, right? And the same thing goes on into the meeting place and anything that comes after this, right? Like, how do we build spaces that are healthy and happy for ourselves? That's the challenge of the metaverse, I think, because otherwise it can go, very dystopian, Ready Player One in some ways, in the bad way,
But that's
Exactly.
true. But it's also cool too because there are people who are looking for those experiences too.
Exactly.
No matter how you
Exactly.
look at it, it's like if you can cater to what somebody wants, because the video games that are out there that people play, if you told somebody 10 years ago you're going to play a video game, you go around, hijacking people out of their cars and picking up hookers, no one would have thought it would have been possible. But there's Grand Theft Auto for all the world to see. You know what I mean? So people
Exactly.
want to have experiences, and I think that's like Spaces as well too with Twitter, is that you find you hang out with a group of people and you just want to see them all the time. So you go to the Twitter Spaces to share things with them. Well, now you're going to come to these environments to share things.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Should we go
Benny, I
upstairs?
couldn't
Let's keep going up.
Yeah, we get a little tour. I think we got a couple of minutes.
Yeah,
Before
let's
the
get
top
to
of
the
the hour. So yeah.
Let's get to the top and see. Where's Steph?
Yeah, see if Steph can keep up.
I see you, Steph.
You use the archways to get up. That's the trick.
Yeah,
The
the first thing
secret
I did was
sauce.
see if I could get all the way to the top of this wall.
Are we going to the top of the ball? Or
We
just
can
the
start.
top?
Let's start at this platform up here. And if you're watching from home, Stephanie, I think, is a little bit further away from me, so my voice is probably quieter, which is another kind of feature in Spatial that really makes you feel like you're in a space with somebody, right? The fact that our voices taper off dependent on the distance.
And it works nice from platform to platform.
There you are.
At the bottom, go to the other side.
Yeah, come.
You really can't.
Yeah,
You could have
Hey,
groups
Steph.
hanging out.
You made it.
exactly. So at the very top, we have the spinning orb, which is one of my favorite things. It's like a globe, you know. And again, there's a sense of time because of its movement. Um, but it's also like a trick. Every time people come in, I'm like, come upstairs, see if you can get to the top. And you can actually access the ball from the very top as well. And I can jump
Here, I'll go
right
up
here.
there.
There I am. Look up, Steph. Oh, here, oh, that was easy. See, she's
Oh,
got
wow,
it.
well
Yeah,
done.
exactly.
Well, she works
Welcome.
at Spatial, so
Yeah,
she's
exactly.
pro.
She's
Top
got
of the
it.
world.
Exactly. Exactly.
Amazing.
Yeah, the sky.
Exactly.
Skybox.
There's this kind of the skybox is gorgeous. It again it feels like serenity up here. You know, I'm so happy, honestly, to have created this even for myself. Frankly, the fact that I get my artist proof, I get to experience this again and again and make it my own. And I hope that whoever ends up, owning this piece of architecture and art will feel the love and care that Cyril and I put into it, and that they will be able to share this with the world, and that they could potentially open it up to the public even, right? Like, I think this is like architecture. It only comes alive when people are inside. Otherwise, it's just sculpture, and it doesn't really live, right? Like, art comes alive with human beings. Without the gaze, without light and transaction and synapses firing, architecture is good as invisible. Um,
Exactly.
didn't know you
This
could
is a
do
very this is a very yeah. This is a very humanistic structure as well. It's really built for people to connect
Exactly.
and to
Absolutely.
meet with each other. That's what I love about it. I'm definitely gonna come
Cool.
up here some more times, and when I want to just have a quiet moment.
Yeah, have a
and come
meeting,
and sit up here.
Exactly. So I guess are we running out of time? What time is it? Do we have
I think it's about it's 1:53 Eastern time.
Okay. All right. So I guess we should wrap up a little bit. I personally want to thank the group at Spatial. Jake has been really supportive and the team has
Absolutely.
been incredible for artists. And, Cyril and I have been so blessed to be put in this position to create a work of art like this. And, just hats off to the Spatial team and their technology and their
Absolutely.
engineers. Big shout out to Michael Potts. If you're looking to build spaces in the metaverse, M2 Studios. M2 Studios, Michael Potts leads the team there, and they are incredible engineers. They are magicians in the metaverse, and it is so important that we have people like Michael leading the charge to really push the boundaries of technology. And this space would not look as beautiful as it does without the genius of Michael and his team. So if I had a hat, I'd take a tip it, I'd tip my hat exactly to Michael Potts and two studios. And lastly, the details of the meeting place. You can get on here through Spatial's website, spatial.io. You can get it through here through the app. That you can download in the App Store. You can get in, which is the best way to get in actually, is to do it through VR, where you can kind of feel the entire embodied experience of the meeting place by downloading the app in the store. It's called Spatial. And under the Explore tab on the app, the VR headset and the web browser, you'll find a space called the meeting place. And it's live. It's open until the end of the sale. We're going to close it for a little bit, but we're going to come back with an exhibition with Super Rare to talk about the architecture in the metaverse, bringing in people like Krista Kim and sort of industry leaders building the metaverse right now. And finally, the auction happens tomorrow at noon. This will be a one-of-one NFT, meaning that whoever owns this space will have the sole rights to do whatever they want in here, whether it's to host concerts or do a photo shoot or make it their own personal gallery. That's up to their discretion. But it really is a case study that artists out there can independently create beauty, create art, create architecture, and sell it as an NFT to make a living for themselves. It really is the beginning of a new creators economy run by artists, made for people. The future has arrived. And thank you so much for joining
Thank
us
you, Benny.
here in the
Thank you, Benny,
metaverse.
for being a brilliant creative
Great job.
director behind this. It's been amazing working with
Thank
you and Cyril and
you.
Christian, and this is
Thank
super
you.
exciting. It's definitely one of the most
Thank you.
beautiful metaverse environments I've ever been to. So I hope many other people get to experience it as well.
Thank you so much.
Bravo,
Thank
Cyril.
you. Really appreciate it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
well done.
Well,
There's a
Alright.
screenshot I haven't been able to take that didn't like have some epic vibe to it. You know what I mean? Like anywhere you stand in here and you take a picture, you're just like, yeah, you could stand there too.
should we do that? Let's do that let's end with a selfie. I want to remember this
Yeah.
moment as we broadcast live out of the metaverse.
Go down the edge here. We got some of the
let's-
top down. We got
Yeah,
some of
yeah.
the,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Let's go from. Oh,
there we go.
let's see. We've got to go this way, I
hide the-
think.
That way.
There we go. A little bit further
There we go.
back. Like go. Maybe I can. Oh, let's do this.
There we
Okay.
go.
All right, everybody get in. All right, 3, 2,
Hey,
1.
meeting place.
Meeting place.
Nice.
Nice.
There we go.
Oh,
Awesome. Cute.
wow, that looks
Cool.
great.
Awesome. I'm gonna send
Amazing
to
stuff.
everyone in the room. Right, save it. That's history, man. That's amazing. All right.
It is.
Anyways, send everyone in the room. Well, thank you for joining us. It means a lot. I hope that, in some ways I've inspired you to come be part of the metaverse revolution. And I guess we'll see you tomorrow on our big day. Super Rare sale drops at noon Eastern Standard Time. Thank you. The meeting place.
Alright.
Have a good one.
Take care, guys.
We'll see you
Bye.
later.
Hey, Benny.
Bye.
Hang back
Yeah.
for a sec.